September 1st, 2025. Southern Caribbean. A U.S. attack helicopter wipes out a cartel smuggling boat in waters claimed by Venezuela. For Caracas, it was a direct humiliation, and they had to respond. A shaky fighter show, a nervous naval sortie, then a leap into theater-wide posturing. Each move would expose their entire military to the world. Grid 11 degrees north, 66 degrees west. A U.S. Navy P-8A Poseidon patrols the sea lanes under Southern Command. Its mission? Maritime domain awareness. Its sensors catch a high-speed contact cutting through the waves. The target was a go-fast boat, 40 feet in length, powered by multiple outboard engines generating over 1,000 horsepower. Its speed was logged at an incredible 80 knots. Running dark, no AIS, no lights, no flag. This vessel was not a fisherman. It was a confirmed Aragua cartel vessel moving 14 tons of narcotics a year through Venezuelan waters. A logistical artery that keeps Caracas's paramilitaries funded. The P-8A transmitted the target's precise coordinates. Miles away, on an amphibious assault ship, a U.S. Marine Corps AH-1Z Viper helicopter spun up. It launched, armed with a 20mm M197 Gatling cannon and AGM-114R Hellfire missiles. The Viper acquired the target. From a standoff range of nearly 3 miles, the pilot designated the go-fast boat with a laser. The missile came off the rail. The AGM-114R Hellfire, a 108-pound subsonic missile, covered the distance in under 10 seconds. The strike was total. The target was annihilated. This engagement, part of Operation Orchid Trail, was a clinical tactical success. By this point, the operation had already seized or sunk 11 cartel vessels. But this strike was different. The location was the key. While in international waters, it was also inside Venezuela's claimed Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ. It was legally defensible but politically explosive. The immediate aftermath became a study in information control. Caracas issued a total denial, with state media reporting no incident, but the strike was 100% verified. U.S. Southcom logged the hit, and the definitive proof came from a leak. Internal port manifests from La Guaira confirmed the ledger for missing coastal craft, a clear euphemism for lost cartel assets, jumped by 37% in the week of the strike. The U.S. had just hit a protected artery, and the Maduro regime, publicly humiliated, was forced to react. Within 72 hours, on September 4th, radar operators on the USS Jason Dunham, another Arleigh Burke-class destroyer in the region, logged 2 inbound contacts. The assets were 2 Venezuelan F-35A Fighting Falcons. This was the regime's top-tier fighter, their aerial show of force. They initiated a low-level intimidation run, flying at under 500 feet, screaming across the destroyer's bow at approximately 550 knots. Their afterburners engaged for maximum spectacle. A day later, they returned. This time, the U.S. ship's sensors recorded something else, something that revealed the entire response was a pathetic bluff. The F-16s were broadcasting data indicating malfunctioning avionics. U.S. acoustic sensors also registered the unmistakable sound of compressor stalls from their engines. The jets were literally falling apart in mid-flight. The U.S. response to this provocation was 100% passive. The moment the Venezuelan F-16s appeared, the USS Dunham's powerful AN/SPY-1D radar system detected and locked onto them from 70 nautical miles out, long before the pilots could even see the destroyer. As the jets closed in, the ship's SLQ-32 electronic warfare suite began its silent work, its sole purpose to detect, identify, and locate hostile emitters. During their 2 flyovers, the F-16s unknowingly broadcast their entire electronic profile. The Dunham passively logged everything. It captured their APG-66 radar frequencies pinging at 9.3 GHz. It recorded their radio handshakes with the Caracas control tower on 243 MHz AM. It even recorded their thermal signature, which peaked at a blazing 870 degrees Celsius as they engaged their afterburners. Without firing a single shot, the U.S. Navy had just captured the complete electronic order of battle for Venezuela's primary air defense fighter. This freshly captured data was then cross-referenced with open-source intelligence, and it painted a devastating picture. A recent Jane's Defense Weekly brief confirmed what the U.S. censors suspected. A long-standing U.S. embargo meant that only 9 of Venezuela's original 21 F-16s were even flight-worthy. The 40-year-old airframes were being kept in the air only through cannibalization, stripping parts from other jets to keep a few flying. The electronic analysis was confirmed. The jets were operating with 1980s-era avionics and critically no Link 16 data link. This meant the pilots were flying blind, unable to share sensor information with each other or with the ground. And the final humiliating detail? They were armed with 1970s-era AIM-9L Sidewinder missiles, an obsolete weapon that posed zero threat to the Dunham's advanced countermeasures. The display was over. The damage was done. A few days later, Caracas looked to the sea for redemption. The Navy would now attempt what the Air Force could not, a show of force against U.S. warships. On September 15th, the most significant encounter was recorded. The U.S. asset was the USS Knights, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer conducting a routine freedom of navigation transit. The Venezuelan asset was a Guacamacuto-class patrol vessel. This is a 262-foot ship, a design that is, on paper, relatively modern. Radar logs from the USS Knights show the Venezuelan ship initiating an intercept 34 nautical miles off the coast, far outside the 12-mile territorial limit. Here's the thing. The Venezuelan patrol craft accelerated from its 12-knot patrol speed to a staggering 26 knots. This is a critical detail. The ship's official designed maximum speed is only 22 knots. The crew was pushing the engines to their absolute limit, redlining them in a desperate attempt to look intimidating. It closed to a distance of under 2 nautical miles, an unsafe and unprofessional proximity. On the USS Knights, the response was procedural and calm. The ship was brought to Condition 3, a heightened state of readiness. But no fire control radar was activated. No lock was established. The U.S. ship was prepared, but it was pointedly not threatening. Instead, it activated its ANSLQ-32V electronic warfare suite in a passive collection mode. It just listened. The Knights then deployed an active, non-lethal deterrent. An MH-60R Seahawk helicopter lifted from the destroyer's flight deck. It did not arm its weapons. It performed a low-altitude pass circling the Guacamacuto's bridge at just 200 feet. The crew then pulsed a high-intensity green laser at the bridge, a standard recognized U.S. Navy non-verbal warning to de-escalate. But this was all a distraction. The laser and the helicopter's noise were just the cover for the real mission. While the Venezuelan crew was disoriented, the MH-60R's high-definition FLIR and video systems were recording every crew member's movement, every reaction, and every piece of equipment on their deck. Simultaneously, the USS Knight's electronic warfare suite was logging every single emission from the Venezuelan ship. It captured the exact frequencies of their ship-to-ship radios and the sweep intervals of their outdated signal surface search radar. The U.S. Navy was gathering a complete electronic signature of their ship. The Venezuelan ship, having made its point and been warned, broke off the intercept. But this show of force was a strategic failure. Leaked maintenance records from Puerto Cabello Naval Yard revealed the truth. Venezuela's Navy was suffering from a spare parts shortage exceeding 60%. Each of these high-speed intercepts designed as theater was burning irreplaceable engine hours that the regime could not afford. Venezuela was trading its precious operational readiness for a PR stunt that resulted in zero tactical gain and a complete loss of its electronic data. Every failed intercept, every broken engine, and every leaked radar frequency added up to one conclusion. Venezuela had exposed its entire order of battle, and the U.S. was about to capitalize on it. The United States didn't issue a press release. It didn't send a diplomatic threat. It didn't scramble a carrier strike group. It simply moved its pieces on the chessboard. 10 U.S. Air Force F-35A Lightning II aircraft were deployed to Rafael Hernandez Air Base in Puerto Rico. This was the strategic checkmate. This wasn't just a deployment, it was a data-driven execution. The F-35 is not merely a fighter. It is a flying sensor node, a quarterback in the sky designed to see, share, and act without ever being seen. The deployment of these fifth-generation stealth fighters to an airbase just a 2-hour flight from Caracas was a non-verbal signal of total, unassailable technological dominance. From Puerto Rico, the F-35's AN/APG-81 AESA radars and advanced electro-optical targeting systems could paint a high-fidelity picture of the entire Caribbean airspace without ever emitting a detectable signal. It was a quiet, crushing reminder of the true gap in power, a gap no longer measured in missiles, but in processing speed and network-centric warfare. The Venezuelan response to the September cartel strike was a cascade of strategic failures, documented at every single step. The regime, cornered by domestic pressure and needing to project strength, was politically forced to act, but its response was a flailing, desperate gesture against a ghost. Its air response was a great technological disaster. Scrambling their legacy Su-30 Mk2 fighters, flagship aircraft from the 1980s, was a fatal error. The F-35s, flying high and invisible, watched the entire event unfold. They didn't need to engage. Their sensor fusion system simply vacuumed up the data, correlating the Su-30's weak radar emissions with their unencrypted radio chatter. U.S. sensors passively logged the high rates of mechanical failure as two jets were forced to return to base with maintenance issues before even reaching the patrol zone. The Venezuelan air arm failed to intimidate. Instead, it broadcast its own technological obsolescence and logistical collapse directly to the listening ears of U.S. intelligence. Its naval response at sea, a sortie by its few remaining operational Mariscal Sucre-class frigates, was met not with Tomahawk missiles, but with invisible walls of data. The U.S. Navy Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, likely the USS Kearney, operating in international waters, employed its AN/SLQ-32 electronic warfare suite. The Venezuelan fire control radars were spoofed, their screens filled with ghost targets, false altitudes, or simply debilitating noise. Overhead, a P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft loitered for hours, its electronic support measures passively cataloging every transmission. The Venezuelan fleet failed to intimidate. Instead, it gave away its fleet's entire electronic order of battle, its communication frequencies, its radar signatures, and its operational procedures. It burned irreplaceable engine hours and precious fuel from a hollowed-out fleet that relies on cannibalized parts to even leave port. The U.S. Navy never fired a shot in retaliation. It never activated a single fire control radar, an act that would be seen as an escalation. It never had to. It used patience. It used superior passive sensors. And it used data. It crushed the entire Venezuelan response by simply watching, listening, and logging the facts of its opponent's total military, economic, and technological collapse. This is the new face of American power. The victory wasn't in sinking a ship. The victory was in acquiring a perfect updated threat library on the entire Venezuelan military. The U.S. now knows their readiness levels and their exact electronic signatures. This is a warfare of information that can humiliate a regime, neutralize its military capability, and dismantle its strategic footing without ever needing to pull a trigger.